Walk into any museum of the ancient world and you will see them. Rows of marble figures, strong, elegant, and almost always naked. Soldiers without armor, gods without robes, emperors stripped bare before eternity. But why? Why would one of the most powerful civilizations in history choose to carve itself in the nude? Was it vanity? Was it worship? Or was it something deeper? A code written in stone that the Romans wanted us to understand. Today, we unravel the mystery of Roman nudity and discover why marble bodies told the story of an empire. To understand Roman nudity, we must first understand Roman art itself. The Romans were storytellers, not just with words and scrolls, but with architecture, mosaics, and statues. Every column, every relief, every carved figure carried meaning. Statues in Rome were not merely decorations. They were propaganda. They stood in public spaces, forums, baths, and temples. They broadcast messages of power, victory, and divine favor. A general returning from war might be immortalized in stone. An emperor could appear in every province through replicas of his image. And the body, the human form, was the canvas on which Rome projected its values. But here lies the puzzle. Instead of wrapping their leaders in togas or arming their warriors in steel, Romans often presented them naked. The choice was deliberate. To the Romans, nudity was not about exposure. It was about symbolism. The Romans did not invent the heroic nude. They inherited it. Centuries before, in ancient Greece, sculptors like Polykleitos and Praxiteles perfected the art of the naked body. For the Greeks, nudity was not shameful. It was divine. Athletes competed naked in the Olympic Games. Heroes like Achilles or Hercules were celebrated in statues where the perfection of the body symbolized the perfection of the soul. When Rome conquered Greece in the 2nd century BCE, they did not just take lands, they took culture. Greek statues flooded into Rome, filling villas and public spaces. Roman sculptors studied the Greek masters and copied their techniques. And with them, they adopted the idea that the nude body was the highest form of art. But the Romans made nudity their own. Where the Greeks sought ideal beauty, the Romans sought meaning. A naked statue in Rome was never just a body. It was a statement. One of the most powerful uses of nudity in Roman art was the heroic nude. Imagine a general standing on a battlefield, victorious. In real life, he wore armor. But in marble, he appeared naked. Why? Because nudity in Roman art could transform a mortal into something larger. A timeless hero. A naked body symbolized strength, courage, and superiority. To strip away the clothing was to strip away the ordinary, leaving only the essence of greatness. Emperors embraced this tradition. Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, was often portrayed with the smooth, youthful features of a Greek god. Statues of him in heroic nudity connected him not just to power, but to immortality. To the Roman eye, this was not embarrassing. It was aspirational. The Roman world was filled with gods, and many of them were worshipped in the nude. Venus, goddess of love, appeared bare in countless statues, her hand modestly covering herself in what became known as the Venus pose. Apollo, the god of light, was portrayed with a youthful, athletic body. Even Jupiter, the king of the gods, could be shown with his chest exposed, a symbol of divine power. For Romans, divine nudity was perfection. The gods were beyond human shame. Their nakedness was not vulnerability, but majesty. When mortals were sculpted naked, the message was clear. They too shared in the qualities of the divine. Yet nudity in Rome was not always glorious. It could also humiliate. Statues of defeated enemies were often portrayed naked, not in the proud, heroic style of Roman generals, but in twisted, shamed poses. To strip away clothing was to strip away dignity. Slaves and prisoners could be depicted nude, emphasizing their weakness. For the Romans, the naked body was a double-edged sword. It could elevate the victor or degrade the vanquished. This duality made nudity a powerful tool. It was never neutral. The nude body was always making a statement of triumph or disgrace. When it came to women, Roman nudity followed a different code. Like male statues, which could be proudly heroic, female statues walked a fine line between beauty and modesty. Venus was the primary female nude, embodying love and fertility. Her statues inspired desire but also conveyed divine power. Other women, however, were rarely sculpted nude. Wives, mothers, and empresses appeared clothed, draped in fine robes. Respectable women were shown as dignified, not exposed. It's only in mythological roles. As goddesses or allegories were women unveiled. This contrast reveals Roman society's attitudes toward gender. Male nudity was about strength. Female nudity was about beauty. Both carried meaning, but they were not equal. It's important to remember that Romans were not prudish about the body. In Roman baths, nudity was part of daily routine. Men and women bathed separately, but within their spaces, nudity was normal. Athletes trained without clothing. Even mosaics and frescoes celebrated erotic scenes. Still, the statues were different. They were not just reflections of daily life. They were ideals, elevated to another plane. In marble, nudity was eternal. As the Roman Empire declined and Christianity rose, the meaning of nudity shifted. The Christian world associated nakedness with shame, sin, and temptation. Statues of gods and emperors were toppled, hidden, or destroyed. Nudity, once a symbol of strength, became scandalous. For centuries, many Roman statues were buried underground, their marble bodies forgotten. When the Renaissance rediscovered them, they shocked and inspired a new generation. Artists like Michelangelo revived the heroic nude, giving the world masterpieces like David, and once again, the Roman nude spoke. Not just of Rome, but of humanity itself. So why were so many Roman statues naked? Because in Rome, nudity was never just the body. It was a language. It spoke of power, divinity, beauty, and shame. It elevated emperors into gods and reduced enemies into captives. It celebrated youth, strength, and the eternal struggle against time. And perhaps that is why, centuries later, we are still asking the question. We see the statues not as embarrassing relics, but as timeless symbols. The Romans may be gone, but their marble bodies endure, whispering to us across 2,000 years. When you stand before a Roman statue, staring at its bare form, you are not just looking at stone. You are looking at an idea. The Romans carved their values into marble, and they chose nudity because it stripped away everything temporary, leaving only what they believed to be eternal. So, the next time you ask why are so many Roman statues naked, remember, the answer is not about modesty or scandal. It is about power, art, and the eternal human desire to be remembered, not as we are, but as we wish to be. Because to the Romans, the naked body was not weakness, it was the truth.